Hey guys, this is Matt Wenning at WenningStrength.com, and today's video is about how to hit a new 1 rep max. So whether it's a squat, a bench, a deadlift, or any other type of lift, the 1 rep max is kind of what we base our percentages on, where we test our strength, and also where we assess our weaknesses if you come on to online coaching or any of that other jazz. But the 1RM is important because it looks very different than a training day, and I'm going to explain how to do it properly so that you can hit a big 1RM. The first step to hitting a 1RM is you have to ask yourself, Matt, do you do your winning warm-ups when you do a 1RM? The answer is no. When I'm doing a 1 rep max, it's usually only about twice a year or once every 6 months. Doing it once every 6 months allows me to build a long enough base to actually see real results. If you're trying to max every 4 or 6 weeks, what you're gonna find is you're gonna stagnate. Maybe if you're a beginner, you might get a little bit better, but eventually you're going to actually regress because you're testing versus training. So with winning warm-ups, we always want to be in the training phases of working out, meaning that we're wanting to train in a deficit in our main lifts. We want to be fatigued, we want to be tired. In the bench press, for example, we may have to squat, or we are going to have to squat in a full powerlifting meet before we bench press, and we're never really going to bench press completely fresh unless we're doing bench-only contests. But if we train ultra specific and all we do is bench press and we don't do anything pre-training, it can lead to other problems. So the point is, when we do 1 rep maxes once every 6 months, we cut the winning warm-ups out and we actually just get to the actual lift itself. So if we have a 315-pound bench, which is a pretty respectable bench in any gym, what would the jumps look like if we say we wanted to hit a 325 max? Okay, well, let's just say your training's been going perfect. You've been working on all the right muscle groups. You've been doing all the right volume. When you're maxing, you're getting really close to failure, but you're not ever missing any reps. Training is probably going pretty good. So what we would do is we would do 95, then 135, okay? Then we would do probably 185. Then we would do 225, then we do 275, okay? And that's gonna be where it starts to get a little bit more difficult. So now we're gonna take more modest jumps. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do 290. 290 is gonna be the feeler set for our 3 attempts, okay? These 3 attempts would be very similar to an opener, maybe a new PR, and then possibly what we really wanna get in a contest or in the gym. So here we're gonna try 300, which is slightly under our old max. Then we're gonna go, depending on how 300 feels, we're gonna go 320, and then we're gonna try 335. Okay, this would be what I would consider very, very good jumps. Now the question is how many reps do we do in each of these? This is very dependent on individual factors. For me personally, it's all singles all the way up. 1 rep, okay? Now you wanna do this in full commands with pauses, or if you're not a competitor, you wanna do it exactly the same way each time. And that also means the same eccentric speed. So where you'll see people mess up is they are very confident, say if you're a 315 bencher, they're very confident up till around 225 at just kind of bumping and hammering it, right? But then when they start getting around 275 or around 88, 87%, the bar starts to slow down and now their eccentric speed changes dramatically. The CNS isn't ready for that, and so what it does is it actually reduces power. So what we try to do in competition phases is we lower the lighter weights like they're heavy weights in order for the CNS to get a good understanding of the environment in which it's getting ready to be tested in. The other things that's super important when you're trying to hit a 1 rep max is rest periods. And I see people screw this up all the time. And what this means is that, again, are we training or are we testing? In a testing day, which is what I've written up here and what we're trying to do, we want to rest at minimum 4 to 7 minutes between sets. Okay? Now, the problem with this is that you can't really get training adaptations from these long of rest periods. But what you can get is a full restoration at the cellular level of the muscle contraction that's been done previously. So once we get up to 250 or 260 or so in the old part of the video where we talked about that 315 bench, you can't feel when the body is totally ready for maximum contraction. It's at a cellular level. And that can take anywhere from 5 to 6 minutes to fully recharge. I always look at it like a rechargeable battery. If you have two batteries sitting next to each other and both of them are rechargeable and one of them's dead and one of them's full, you can't tell the difference, right? It's the same thing with rest periods. In 2, maybe 3 minutes, you're gonna feel ready to go again. But at the cellular level, you're not going to be ready. And this is where I see a lot of people screw up and hit their 1 rep maxes. So even when the weight's light in the beginning sets, the 95 pounds, the 135, make sure you're resting 4 at minimum and 7 at maximum minutes between each attempt, and you'll find that your numbers will be way better than if you rush this particular part of the thought process. In closing, I want to go over some of the top things that I think are major problems with people maxing and that causes really the max to be at a deficit versus at its best. The first thing is, I don't know how many powerlifting meets I've been to and watch guys either do push-ups until 10, 15, 20 reps before they even touch a barbell, which in my opinion is not a good idea, or they'll do a light weight that they're confident with, like 95 or 135, and they'll do 10, 15, 20 reps until they get a big pump. Not really a great idea because you're expending energy and you're telling your body to do something longer than it has to do for a 1 rep max. So what's the time on a 1 rep max? Well, if you actually time your start position all the way down with the pause and the press, you're looking at around 7 seconds. So think about how many seconds it takes to do 135 for 10, 15, 20 reps. We might be looking at somewhere around 15, 20, maybe if you're not real strong, 30 seconds of work. So if you were getting ready to test a 100-meter dash or a 50-meter dash, for example, in running, would you go run a mile before you did that? Probably not. Well, it's the same thing with lifting. You want to tell your body to be explosive one time. And so, although it's not a bad idea to get warm, you might be better off using external. Hey guys, this is Matt Wenning at WenningStrength.com, and today I want to tell you guys that the video is sponsored by ATP Labs. Now, ATP Labs has been my personal supplement company for the last 10 years. They've done really amazing job with not only my clients, but my fire departments, my military contracts, and myself personally. Now, about 2018, 2019, when I was starting to learn how to diet down, I had trouble with sugar cravings. And utilizing ATP Labs' glucose control helped me to curb those cravings and stay on my diet, coming down from 315 pounds down to 240. And I found that that would have been much more difficult to do without the ATP Labs glucose control. So go check that out at WenningStrength.com or ATPLabs.com, and we'll hope to see you guys soon, and thanks for watching the video. Methods. A lot of times before a big bench press, I will use heating pads on my shoulders, my pecs, and my arms to get the extra heat, which is a huge, predominant, big time helper for getting super strong, but you want to do it without expending any energy. So what I'll do is run heating pads on the muscles that are going to be utilized for the bench, and I'll do very minimal workup sets. Now this is only for advanced. You might need more warm-ups if you're not advanced, but this is a big issue. The next issue is no mental issue or mental focus before pre-testing. So when I come in and I know that I got to do something really hard, so for example, yesterday, I did a Hatfield squat of 600 for 5, stood there, let him add another 50 pounds, and then did 650 for a single for a 6 RM on the Hatfield squats. Now, the entire time I was driving to the gym, I was heavily focused on that exact set in which I wanted to attack and do. And it was the same thing than when I was competing. Really, whether you succeed or fail is starting about an hour or an hour and a half before you even hit the gym. Where's your mindset? What are you thinking about? If you're thinking about past relationships, family problems.
It's complicated.
No, it's simple as pie, man. You plant your feet in the ground, you look square in the eyes, and you say, hey, baby, you and me's going on a date. That's in the story. What's her name?
Lance.
Listen here, Lance. Lance. What?
Kid issues. You're already setting yourself up to probably have a bad day. If you can harness in and focus on your training, your 1 rep max will definitely go up. The next thing is lack of proper recovery. Following very similar to point B is point C. You cannot go and work a 12-hour construction job the day before you max and expect to be at your peak. This is where lifestyle choices and even career choices are a huge factor.